You need to make each email enough so that there's enough there that it stands on its own, but at the same time, you often want to take people on a bit of a journey.
Welcome to the Online Genius Podcast, where host and renegade thinking beer brewing lawyer turned online entrepreneur Bobby Klinck proves that building and protecting your online genius doesn't have to be rocket science. Bobby and his expert guests break down online marketing and the legal stuff so you can stop sweating the small stuff and get back to building your amazing business. Now, here's your host, Bobby Klinck.
Hey there, welcome to episode 98 of the Online Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Klinck, and today we're going to be talking about something that is really important. Specifically, we're going to be talking about how to create a great promo sequence. And when I say promo sequence, I'm talking about a full-fledged sales email sequence that you're going to use in a launch or any other kind of big promotional series when you are selling a big product. Now, what I want to tell you is the principles we're going to talk about, you could theoretically use them in kind of shorter, more condensed types of launches. You may have heard things like 4-day sale or a 2-day sale or a 3-day sale, like flash sale, things like that. You could use these same principles in a sequence for that. But what we're going to be talking about is more in, the context of a full-fledged kind of cart open period for a product that you normally don't have open cart for. Now, it might be in a launch, like if you're doing a webinar, if you're doing a video sequence, if you're doing a challenge. It could be in my kind of non-launch launch, which is really just email and social media only, no launch vehicle. That really doesn't matter. What we're going to be talking about, though, is how to create a really good kind of overall sequence to use to try to sell a big, higher dollar product. Now, you're generally not going to do a promo sequence for like a $97 product. It's overkill. But this sequence and what we're going to be talking about here is how I sell my $9.97 product. And that's also how I would probably sell a $4.97 product if it was during this kind of something that's only open for a short period of time. So that's what we're talking about today. And it's something that I know a lot of people have questions about. And so I wanted to address it, and I wanted to address it quickly. Also, though, I want to say I'm focused on the email sequence here. Now, you would obviously also be doing social media work. You might be doing Facebook advertising. I'm not going to get into that. This is all about how to write the emails that go into it and that are part of it. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I'm also, just so you know, we're not going to talk about like the stuff that comes before, like webinar invites or show up sequences. We're talking about the actual, once the cart is open, here are the emails to try to get people to buy. Before we dig in, though, I hinted at it last week, and I wanted to talk about it more this week. I'm going to have a big unveiling coming on October 22nd, which is the day that episode 101 of the podcast comes out. So I want you to put that on your calendar. Now, if you want to get reminders from me, there is a way you can do that specifically, and I would love for you to do that. You can go to bobbyklinck.com. That's BOBBY, Klinck, KLINCK.com, and go there. And right now, it's just a wait page. It says we've got something coming soon. It's going to be exciting, and you can sign up for a wait list. When you do that, you will make sure that you're kind of in on what will be some fun unveilings, some really cool things I've got cooked up that are coming out. I've been talking about rebranding to bobbyklinck.com for a while. You can probably guess that's part of what the announcement is, but it's going to be some bigger things. I'm going to be announcing some things about changes to my overall business, changes to things that are going to make things way better, in my view, for a lot of people, for the people in my audience. And so if you want to make sure that you get all the details about that, go to bobbyklinck.com, sign up for the wait list, and that way you'll get the emails when the cool stuff is happening, when I've got some special promotional stuff that people will get some access to. So make sure you sign up there and you'll be on the list, as we say. Now with that, let's dive into this week's episode where we're talking about promo sequences. And as I tend to do, I'm not going to dive straight into the nuts and bolts. I want to kind of talk first about principles or, kind of high level things I want you to be thinking about as you're creating a promo sequence. The first thing I want you to realize is that a promo sequence is not a random set of emails. In other words, you don't want to just write a bunch of emails that are separate and apart from themselves and kind of all by themselves. Instead, you want to think of kind of your overall sequence as a bit of a journey. But, and here's the caveat to that, I don't want you to think of it where, like, if someone drops down in the middle of it and opens like the third email, but they haven't read the first and the second, they're not going to understand what's going on. Okay, so you need to make each email enough so that there's enough there that it stands on its own, but at the same time, you often want to take people on a bit of a journey. So, and I'll get into kind of some specific emails and subjects for emails that you'll want to send, but let me give you an example. Like in a promo sequence that I used recently, an email that went out on one morning was, "Don't be like Tarzan." And you guys probably know my friend Tarzan K, and she's given me permission to use this story of how something bad happened to her. So I used that in that email. And then the next email that went out was, "Be like Amy instead." And so you can see how it's kind of from one email to the next, there is a continuity where you'll kind of get a journey where people who are kind of following along are going to get some value and get some information from one email to the next. So that's kind of what I want to say from the first principle here, which is think of all of the emails that you're going to send in a sequence, and you'll kind of map them all out as taking people on a journey from, where they are now through the buying process to potentially buy from you. Now, the next part for you to think about, the next principle, is that you need to, during the course of your sequence, talk to different personality types. And what I mean by that is there are some people who make decisions very quickly. They simply want to know, what is the price? What is the promise? Done, sold. I bought. I'm going to buy it. That's how I am as a buyer. Just so you know, if I am going through a sequence that you're doing, I might read all your emails, but if I do, it's purely out of curiosity. I've made a decision very quickly if I'm going to buy or not. So there are going to be people like that on your list. On the other hand, there are going to be people who have the personality that they need you to explain every last detail to them so that they understand and they can, kind of get all the details and there's nothing left out, and they understand every last piece of what you have in your offer. And so you're going to need some emails that are going to speak to those kinds of people, okay? And you'll need to make sure that they are included. And so that you understand, in some ways, you're obviously going to want to talk to the detail people more than the quick deciders in your emails. And the reason why that is because the quick deciders have probably already decided. So they're going to decide quickly. Like me, your emails, candidly with me, are rarely going to make the difference. Every once in a while they might, but for the most part, I've already decided. So you spending time in your emails trying to talk to me and convince me is a mistake. However, for the detail-oriented people, it can matter. The other thing, though, that you need to understand is that there are some people who don't relate to information as information. In other words, if you have a recitation of here's, what's included and here's what you get and all that, that is going to be very bland to them. They're not going to respond to that. They want to hear stories. They want to hear kind of real world, how does it change their life by hearing how it changed other people's lives. So you need to think about that. Then there are going to be people who respond to emotions, and it's people who respond both to fear, but also to happiness and joy. So kind of if you can find ways to touch on emotions, that's going to be helpful. So as you're kind of starting to get this, you need to understand, and I hope you are, that when you're crafting your sales emails that are part of a promo sequence, you're going to need to have different approaches to different emails so that you're hitting the different notes to convince different people with different personalities that they want to buy. And this is the case even if you've really niched down to your ICA, because even if you've niched down on your ICA, the reality is that you don't, your ICA doesn't necessarily mean just because they're the same ICA that they think alike. Like in the course creator space, like if your niche is talking to course creators, well, there are course creators who are detail folks and who are quick deciders. You have visionary types and you have very much nuts and bolts in the very details. And so you're going to have to make sure you talk to all of them. Now, the other thing you need to be thinking about during a promo sequence is urgency. You have to provide a reason for people to act. What I will tell you is if you have a traditional 7-day open cart period, which used to be the standard forever, a lot of people have switched it now. Some people are doing 4 days and some people are doing 10 days, but 7 used to be the standard. So I'll just talk about that. You'll tend to have a lot of people buy on the first day and a lot of people buy on the last 2 days. And oftentimes there's a lull in that middle period. And the reason why is because nothing's happening. You're not giving them any reason why they need to buy now. And so you have to think about that. But what I want you to do is a mistake that a lot of people make is they start talking about the very last deadline, meaning if they have a cart open for a week, starting at the very beginning, they're talking about, well, this is only available for a week. The cart's going to close in 7 days. Well, if you tell someone the cart's going to close in 7 days, they're like, oh, okay, I got 7 days. I don't need to act now. So you don't want to talk about when the cart is going to close towards the beginning of a launch. Instead, you want to build in other things to create urgency. This is where bonuses come in. You will often want to have bonuses, not always, but you might want to have bonuses that people get if they sign up on the first day or the first 2 days. And then you might want to put something in the middle where if they sign up by the fourth day, they're going to get this bonus. And so you can just build in urgency. But what you're going to do, even if you don't use bonuses, you'll want to just start talking about it's a limited time offer. It's not available all the time. But don't start talking about when it's going to close until you're in the last 48 hours or so. That's when normally the urgency starts to kind of play. So those are kind of general principles, not a random set of emails. You're taking them on a journey. You have to make sure you're talking to different personality types, including detail people, visionary people, etc. And you need to make sure that you play up urgency in the best way possible. Now let's talk scheduling. What I will tell you is most people do not send enough emails during a promo sequence. And this is why I stress to people, like when I talk about, I'll have discussions with people about like weekly emails and they get nervous. Oh, people are going to unsubscribe and people don't want to hear from me more than once a month. And what I tell them is if they don't want to hear from you more than once a month, they're not going to be good, valuable email subscribers for you because when you get to a launch period, you're going to talk a lot more than once a month. You're going to be talking to them at least every single day. During a promo series, if you are 7 days or less, you should be sending an email, at least one email every single day. And realistically, you are going to be sending more than one email on multiple days. So I want you to get comfortable with that. Now, this is something that a lot of people, especially new people in the online space, new online entrepreneurs, are uncomfortable with. They feel like, ooh, I'm going to be bothering them. I'm going to be emailing them too much. They're going to get mad at me. And a couple of things I want to talk to you about on mindset here. Number one, remember, you will have provided them with a ton of value, hopefully, before you send them these promo emails. If you're following my method, you will have given them value, you will have entertained them, you will have kind of done things for a long period of time so they actually are connected with you. I get people who respond to my promotional emails every single time saying they love it, they love hearing from me, my emails make them happy. Literally, I had someone recently as I was wrapping up my affiliate launch efforts for Digital Course Academy for Amy Porterfield's program. And I had emailed, I don't remember how many times it was, but it was literally every day and multiple emails on multiple days. And I had people towards the end who weren't buying for one reason or another. Maybe they were already in the program, but they were on my list anyway. But I had people email back and say, thank you for this. I had a lot of fun on seeing these emails. And so if you're doing it right, you will kind of get to see that people will actually kind of be enjoying and having fun, and they'll do that. Now, are people going to unsubscribe? Of course they are. But candidly, those people probably were going to unsubscribe or just not pay attention anyway. So what's happening is you're kind of culling your list, and that's okay. You don't have to worry about that. But more importantly, if people getting promo emails from you, if that's going to make them not want to be on your list, that's fine. You don't want them on your list because the value, again, remember, your list is to help you make money. It is not about creating friends, even though I like to think of the people on my list as friends and people that I enjoy talking with. The reality is the purpose of it is to make money. And so if they're gonna not want to hear promo emails from you, that's fine. You can be friends with them elsewhere, but them being on your email list is not the way to do it. So again, you're going to send an email every single day. When you have bonuses, if you use bonuses for short time, those days you're often going to want to send a second email. So if you have a first day bonus, for example, you'll probably send an email that morning when the card opens, but then you'll send an email, say 3 hours before the bonus expires saying, hey, there's only 3 hours left. And again, you're not just going to say that, but part of the point is to tell them there's only 3 hours left. And if you have a bonus, say on day 4 of a 7-day launch, the same thing. You're going to send an extra email that day to tell people that the bonus is closing. There are some other times that you might decide you want to just send an extra email. In a traditional like Wednesday to Tuesday launch, I will often send a couple of emails on a Sunday, one that goes to everybody and then one that only goes to a certain number of people on my list. And I'll talk about who that is in a second. But, it's a place where I'm sending more than one. So I just want you to get a sense that that's going to happen. Then on the day the cart closes, you should send 3 emails or more. I send 3. A lot of people say you should send 4. I think at some point you get crazy. Candidly, if you have sent an email every single day for 7 days and other days multiple, 3 is enough. The point is simply so that maybe people wake up all of a sudden and say, oh, you're in a launch. Oh, I could buy stuff now? Seriously, this will happen to me. I just want you to understand, every time I do a launch, I have people respond after the cart closes and ask questions. And I'm like, where were you when I sent you these, 12 emails during a week? And so it's going to happen, but that's why you want to send the 3 emails. And again, one's going to be in the morning, one's going to be kind of early afternoon, and one's going to be, say, 3 hours before cart closes. So that's kind of generally how you're going to structure it. But so over a 7-day launch, I will tend to send, like, everybody on the list is going to get probably 11 emails, and some people will get 12 emails. It's kind of how I generally structure it. But you have to pick what you're comfortable with. But generally, the more you email, the more money you're going to make on a launch. Again, there is a point of stopping. Some people add additional emails, like, if people haven't opened, they will resend them. So like if they send an email at 9 a.m. and it wasn't open by 9 p.m., they're going to resend it. I don't do all of that, but some people will do that. So that's kind of talking scheduling about what you're going to do. Now let's talk content. What do you include in your emails? Now, again, hopefully you get the fact that generally, I'm not a big fan of just sending an email that's all about content promo. I like to have some kind of story or hook, something that's kind of entertaining apart from the content of what you're promoting. So in my template library emails, one of the common first emails I refer to is like I talk about how I love Chinese food buffets. And it's not because I want quantity, it's because I want variety. And the point is that, hey, my template library is like the Chinese food buffet of legal stuff. It's, got something for everybody, for you to use in every situation. So you can kind of see how I do that. And that's what I want to give you the sense of. If you can do something like that maybe people, it's like an analogy or something like that kind of makes people smile, that's perfect. But the first email you're going to send is important, and it will generally be what's called the value load email. This is one for the detailed people. This is where you're going to talk about the doors are open. Here's what you're going to, here are the benefits. Here's the actual nitty-gritty of what you get, meaning not just the benefits. You want to sell the benefits first, but you're then going to talk about, and it is this, like in my case, I walk through, you get all of these different templates. And so you're going to do that. And then if you have a first day bonus, you're going to talk about the first day bonus. So you're just loading them up with value, talking about what they're going to get when they buy your product. And you're obviously telling them the door is open. So you're saying, hey, the door is open. You can get this great thing. And here's what it's going to do for you. Here's how it's going to change your life. And here's what's included. And so you can see how this becomes a very long email. So if you're talking about a course, for example, this is when you're going to talk about, here's the transformation it's going to lead, but you're also going to talk about what's in the modules. Now, normally, that's not going to affect most people. Most people don't care what's in the modules, meaning I don't care that it's an 8-module course. I care that what you say is it's going to take me, it's going to show me how to do X. So it's going to take me from point A to point B. But again, remember, this is where I was saying you need to speak to multiple people. There are people who want to know what is in the modules, what's included, and then they want to know what the bonuses are. So you're going to do all of that. And then obviously going to link out to your sales page so they can go read even more information on your sales page. So that is your value load email. It's going to be a long one. You need to work on it and craft it because it's important that it be good, because obviously it's the first one people are going to receive. So you've got to make sure it's a good one. Now, the next two types of email, and I want to be clear, I'm not talking about things in the order that they necessarily appear. You have to figure out how to structure this on the journey you want to take. But there's two different emails that I like including that are related. One of them is the cost of inaction. So this is, think of it as basically the horror story email. What happens if people don't act? It could be they stay in the same place they are and they don't get unstuck. They don't, get out of a funk that they, whatever. In my case, it's that they make a legal mistake that costs them. Again, I talked about a bit earlier where I said, don't be like Tarzan. Tarzan has given me this kind of case study where she talked about how she ended up having to give someone a $4,500 refund because she screwed up and didn't have an agreement in place at some point. So you can kind of see that it's the cost of not taking action, of not either buying your product or at least doing whatever the equivalent is. So that's one kind. Now, another one, if you can do this, is the cost of the alternatives. If you can talk about that your product, your course, your membership, whatever it is, lets them get the results of something that is much more expensive. If you have that as an option, that's a great thing to do. So obviously I can talk about, look, I have this email where I think the subject line is, do you want to send my family on a European vacation? And the basically the story or the concept of it is, look, hiring a lawyer to do stuff for you on a one-on-one basis is very expensive. If you want to hire me to create one contract for you from scratch, it's probably a couple $1,000s. If you want to, hire me to create a bunch, it's, this. And if you want me to hire me to do all of your legal, your legal agreements for your business from start to finish, you're sending me and my family on a European vacation. But hey, I know that's not the way it works. So here's an alternative. You can buy my template library, which costs $9.97. So you kind of see how that type of email works. You can send an email that lays out that they could do this other thing, but it's going to cost them more. And it's not just money. It could be money. It could be time. It could be anything that they don't want to spend a lot of. So money and time will tend to be the ways to do it. Often you're going to talk about how you could try to go and get all this information yourself and find it, but you're going to be, spending hours upon hours upon hours of your life scouring the internet, trying to find this stuff, trying to do it yourself, and then you won't even be sure it's right. So that's kind of a trope that you will often use. So you get the point. This is the cost of the alternatives. Another kind of emails you're going to want to use is the case study email. And so a case study is more than a testimonial, but it's the same concept. It's you're using people who've kind of given testimonials about how great your product is, but it's not just, hey, this person says my product is great. You tell their story. You tell their story about how you're able to, they were able to solve their problem by using your product. And so it's kind of telling where they were before, how they used it, et cetera. Again, I talked about this was the juxtaposition to don't be like Tarzan. I said, be like Amy instead. So this is a case study of talking about someone who was able to do this. I have a great case study that I use of someone who, said she was literally one of the people who waited until like 45 minutes until the cart closed the first time I launched the template library. She jumped in, and then she was able to do in one afternoon what she had been banging her head against the wall for like months before. And so you can see how that's a great case study because it's talking about she got a great result and she got it in a short time period and all of these things. So that's the kind of thing that you want for a testimonial / case study email. You're going to want to use at least one of those. You might want to use multiple of them depending on how many emails you have in your sequence. Then you might have standalone emails about bonuses. If you have a really great bonus that you introduce, you want to have an email all about that and about how it's only available if you sign up by and whatever your date is, whatever the time is for that urgency point. To give you an example, I've used it before where I have a mid-cart bonus where I say you're going to get some calls with me if you do this. And so, you have an email that's all about that gives them that kind of urgency, but you're also playing up the value. You're kind of loading the value of your bonus. Another email you may want to send is a very beefed up, frequently asked questions email. So basically, this is an email where you say, look, you might have some questions, and you're obviously going to say, if you have any, hit reply and ask me. But in the meantime, here are answers to some of the most frequently asked questions about my program. Now, when you're first launching, you're guessing about what those questions are, and you may want to massage that language. Over time, you know what questions you get asked. And so you pose the question and then you answer it. And you obviously are giving, answers that generally selling. But I will be clear, in my frequently asked questions email that I send sometimes as part of my template library promotion, I literally tell certain people that they should not buy. I say, look, if you are a brick and mortar business that is selling, physical products, this is not a product for you. Yes, you could get some value out of some of these templates, but this is not a product that is made for you. This is made for people who are selling information or their services. And so that's the way I describe it. So you'll see you sometimes do talk people out of it. But the point of talking people out of something, just so you understand, if you say who your course is not for, what you're really doing is making the people who it is for, who hopefully are the people on your list, in your launch, etc., feel more like, oh, okay, so this is for me. Yeah, I'm not a brick and mortar. I don't sell physical products. So yeah, this is a product for me. So that's what, you're doing in your frequently asked questions email. If you send it, you're going to answer questions. You're going to explain things. You're going to, kind of do the sales, busting objections. Often it's going to be the questions are objections and you're going to bust the objections in your answer. Now I want to talk about a couple of emails that I started adding recently to my promo sequences that I've had great success with. One is I was able, because I use Kartra for everything within a launch, basically, I'm able to see, okay, who on my list has visited my sales page, has clicked on a link, has done any of those things. And those people, so on a traditional, say, Wednesday to Tuesday launch. So the cart opens on Wednesday, the cart closes on Tuesday. On Sunday, I send an email only to those people in addition to the standard email. And I said, hey, so-and-so, I noticed that you've checked out the sales page, but you haven't bought. Normally I will really craft that email to what I'm going to be doing that day. Like one of them, it was like, I'm going to be hanging out, I'm down in Texas right now. I'm going to be hanging out at South Padre Island with my wife for the day, just enjoying some drinks. But if, so you say what you're going to be doing. In the winter, it's like, hey, I'm going to be sitting around watching football in the cold weather, staying out of the cold. But literally, I tell them what I'm going to be doing. And I say, but I'm around to answer any questions you might have. Just hit reply and ask anything that you need answered about the product, you'll put the name, to help you make your decision. And it's a short and sweet email, but you're just basically making clear that they're interested and you're around to help them answer any questions that they might have. So that's an email, like I said, that goes out to anyone who's kind of been very engaged. So someone who has clicked on a link in one of your emails, has visited your sales page, things like that. Then the next email that I started adding recently, and I've been doing this either on cart close day or the day before the cart closes, is I literally send people an email that it'll say, call me or text me. And literally I give a number. Now I used to give, just my standard cell phone number, but now I've signed up. I have 2 phone numbers on my same cell phone. So I have my personal number, but then I have something that is basically a business number, and I give them that number. They can text me, they can email me. If you're looking for the app, it's called Sideline, is an app you can get that lets you do that. And so I tell people, here's my number. And just so you know, yes, it's an app, but it is coming to me on my cell phone. I make very clear it's me. It's not my team. They will be talking to me. And, I'll say, text me if you have any questions, and we can jump on a phone if you need to talk about it. And, you're basically just showing you are available. Now, if you have a list of 50,000 people, you can't do that realistically. But if you have a smaller list, and my list right now is about 5,000 people who are on a launch list for me. And so I do that knowing I'm not going to have 500 people reach out, but the people who do reach out via text, via phone, anything like that, you should expect that you will be able to see 75 to 80% of those people will tend to buy. The first time I did this, where I literally just gave my phone number and said, text me if you have any questions and we'll jump on the phone if I need to, I had like 2 people respond and say, I wasn't sure. I don't even need to jump on the phone. The fact that you're willing to do that makes me want to buy. So that is kind of a level of showing a willingness to connect with people that a lot of people aren't willing to do. And so it will make a lot of people say, ooh, I want to actually do business with you. That's in addition to the people who actually text you, actually get on the phone with you. Those people, then you are going to, get a very high conversion rate. Like I said, I tend to get something like 75 to 80% of those people who I either text with or talk to will convert. And I'll tell you, some of those people who don't, it's because I tell them not to buy. It's because based on what they told me, I know I don't want to buy, or I don't want them to buy because they're not ready yet. But, it gives you that chance to really connect with people. So that is a powerful email to send. If you're listening to this, I would tell you it is one that you should almost certainly add to your promo sequence in almost every case if you're willing to do it. Then the last email, or, it's not just one email, but you're going to send some cart close emails. So these are the ones where you're ramping up urgency. Just so you have a sense, people, if you follow my advice and send 3 emails on the last day, the people who read that last email, generally the only people who are going to read that are people who are on the fence. So that one's important. So you want to put a lot of time into that one and make sure that you really focus on doing a good job there. So generally, though, it's also the first and the last email on that day are kind of the 2 of the more important. The middle one can be important, and it can obviously do some damage or do some good, not damage, do some good for you. And some people will like that. But generally, the first and the last email on cart close day will be the most important. So I stress that. These are when you're going to be stressing urgency. If you can put countdown timers in emails, you're going to want to do that. You're going to just want to make clear people understand the cart is closing. And especially if you're someone who's as to your word that you're not going to keep the cart open, that you're not going to, let people, buy outside the period. You want to be very clear about that. If the product's not going to be available for another 6 months, you want to make very clear that. Whatever it is that you can build the urgency so people understand now is the time to act. You want to put those things into those kind of cart closing emails on the last day. So that's kind of the anatomy of the different types of emails. What I will generally do to give you a sense of my general pattern, I will tend to do my value load email the first day. Then I will do the cost of the alternatives, not the inaction, the cost of you could pay me, it's going to cost you a lot more money. Then I will normally have the cost of inaction followed by testimonials. Then there will be a bonus email because that's about the time I'll release a new bonus. Then I'll have some other random emails. I will normally add in a second testimonial or case study email that maybe talks about other things. I will have an email sometimes that busts one of the big objections. It's that these templates are going to be hard to use, that people can't figure them out. So it's that they're dummy proof. Then I go into the engage, the call me, text me, and moving into the FAQ and the cart close emails. That's generally kind of how mine flow, but it's not set in stone. The important point is simply to make sure that there is a thought process in how you are sending these emails out, how you're sequencing them, so that people feel kind of, they understand what you're doing and it makes sense to them. So that's it for this episode. Again, high-level principles: make sure your emails aren't random, that they take people on a journey, that you're talking to different personalities so that you've got stories, some emotion, some happy, some sad, but then details. And you want to make sure to add urgency where you can. When we're talking scheduling, you're going to send at least one email a day. When you have expiring bonuses on a day, you'll often send 2 emails, one in the morning, one soon before it expires. And then on cart close day, you'll send 3 emails. And you want to do that and make sure you play up the urgency. And again, we talked about all those different kinds of emails. You want to make sure that you are telling kind of all of these things, selling your benefits, selling, or hitting pain points, hitting objections, and making sure you're talking through them. So that's it for this week's episode. Again, I've got some exciting things happening coming October 22nd. So make sure that you are, kind of put a pin on that date in your calendar. But also, you can make sure that you kind of get all the details by heading over to bobbyklinck.com. There is right now, it's just a page with a sign up for a wait list. But if you sign up there, I'll make sure that you get all the details about all the goodies and about all the fun stuff to come. But that's it for this week. I'll be back here next week for another episode of the Online Genius Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Online Genius Podcast. Make sure to tune in next week for more great tips, tricks, and strategies to help you build and protect your online genius.